Yes, it is another edition of Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck, Mike Grimm, and Justin Guard with you, our sideline reporter and the head coach of the Golden Gopher football team, PJ Fleck, as well. We're glad you're with us, whether it's on the radio or over the internet, where you can actually see Justin Guard wearing that hoodie. And he won the money on the money line bet as to whether I'd bring up what he was wearing to start the show. All right, now that we've got that out of the way, Coach Fleck feels good, I'm sure, to be 1-0 in the Purdue championship week. Kind of take us through, now that you've watched the game film, what you saw from that game that night on Friday.
Yeah, just really proud of our players for how they finished the game, found a way to win with all the adversity and all the challenges we had, all the additions Purdue had. It was just one of those games where it was going to take all of us. It was going to take incredible effort, incredible how, and an incredible team effort. And they knew that, and they executed that. Wasn't perfect. We got a lot of work to do. Played a lot of kids again, played a lot of people, especially on the defensive side, which every time we do that, we're gaining more and more knowledge, and we continue to learn and grow. So really excited about the win. 1-0 in the Purdue season. That was the objective. Found a way to do that. It tested a lot of who we are and what we're about. And our kids found a way to row the boat all the way to the end. And it was really an amazing win.
Guardsy, you're on mute.
Look at that. Unbelievable. What a road.
Don't you have your own show or something?
I know. I've got 9 shows. They're all on Zoom. It's been 9 months, and that's my first mute issue. That's just terrible. It was a great question, too. I don't know if I'll be able to recreate the magic.
I'm gonna practice impersonation here. 5 yards, false start. Justin.
Yep. Illegal procedure, illegal shift. Now we've got the mute. The final 6 or 7 minutes of the game, maybe even going back to the 8-minute mark, what was it like watching back all of that craziness, right? With the interception that wasn't, the pass interference that wasn't, the pass interference on you that wasn't, and then finally the interception. I remember I went back and watched it that night because I couldn't believe all the things that happened in that final 7 or 8 minutes. What was it like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, there was 160 plus plays in that game. Everybody wants to talk about one play. There was also a play after that game. Or after that play. There was also a play before that play. There was also a missed interception by us and a pass interference call that we're looking at. We need to, we want to be able to turn that one in. And there's also the one everybody's talking about. But there's also 160 plus plays in that game. And I was taught a long time ago, not one play can ever lose you a game, it can win you a game. And, you do everything you can to make sure you continue to respond. And, our kids continued to fight, found a way to win it. But on offense, got to be able to finish the game. We had 2 drives there where, that's what we're about. That's who we are. That's what we want our identity to be able to finish, on offense. We're 8, 9, 10-minute drives. We can do that. We weren't able to do that on offense. There's been times we have and times we haven't. And then on the defensive side of the ball, too many times they went down the field and scored. We had plenty of opportunities to end the game earlier, and we did not. But again, those are the things you learn from. We had a missed extra point on special teams. So there was all these circumstances, and there was all these situations, and there was all these things thrown at us. But they just kept their oar in the water, never gave up, didn't quit, and found a way to win the game at the end.
Coach, you know me. I'm always going to say something if it's on my mind. On that last call, on the play. One of the things that's bugging me about it is that the narrative seems to be that the belief, if you watch the Big Ten Network, is that the call was made around the 10-yard line where there was a little hand, fighting, and that's not where the call was made. The call I think it's important to clarify. The call was made at about the 1-yard line. Now, was it a weak call? In my opinion, probably a weak call, but it wasn't like the most egregious, terrible, hey, we're going to take the game off the book line, refund the money if anyone bet on Purdue, which is apparently what happened. It was the guy extends his arm, right? The guy extends his arm. Philip Howard's helmet tips down. So if you're looking from where the ref's looking, he's probably seeing the hand on the face mask. The guy's neck's going down. It's a call. Am I saying it's the greatest call ever? No, but I wish people would clarify where the call was made. It was a poor job, I think, after the game in expressing where the call was made.
Yeah, I mean, if we evaluated every single call and when it was called and why it was called and where it was called, I mean, that's what you fill out your sheets and turn them into the Big Ten. And every week we have ones we agree with and probably ones we don't agree with. And Bill Carolla sends us back what his opinion is. And there's always greens we agree. There's always reds we don't agree. It's called football. And there's human officiating involved in it. It is what it is. And again, 160 plus plays.
No doubt.
I want to talk. How about the Coney Durr interception that wasn't? What do you remember about that time frame where completely fooled Grimmer? It's too bad he wasn't on mute back then because he had you going the other way. Then the ball's out. Then it looks like it's a Purdue reception. Then Calvin Swenson's out of bounds, which is a rule I'll admit I didn't know. And they took it forever. What was going on in the headset as you guys were communicating through that? Because that was such a wild swing of emotions, that just one play.
Yeah, you went from an interception to a catch to no catch, tip out, touch out of bounds, right? Think about that. An interception to a catch, and then no catch, ball touched out of bounds. I mean, that is an amazing sequence in that critical point of a game, right? So, again, we got to catch the ones they throw us. That's what we teach. And we got to be able to find a way to make a play. And you got to give the kid credit for ripping it out of Coney's hands. Coney's going to catch that obviously 9 out of 10 times. But Calvin Swenson happens to be there, touches the ball, and just reactionary, but he's out of bounds when he touches it. And that means the ball's dead. So, and there's a lot of things that happened in that final few minutes, guys, when you look back on it, that could have went either way.
Well, and on that play, I think I wasn't the only one fooled by the play. I looked down at the Gopher sideline. Everyone's going crazy because it looked like Coney had the interception. And then Guardsy, just to throw some self-defense out there, the replay official and I were about the only people in the building that were discussing the out-of-bounds situation. So we were able to
you got it figured out,
rectify the situation later. When it was first, we're like, well, this is going to be a catch, and then it took forever. And I'm like, well, there's got to be something else they're looking at. And I'm like, well, the guy's out of bounds. There you go, no problem, easy enough, right? And
all right, you're a genius. We've got that established right away in segment number 1.
I'm bringing my
good.
When the pass interference was called, that it was out of bounds. We got you. We're lucky to have you, man.
He's got that ESP. Have you seen that Tim Tebow, Kyler Murray commercial where he's anticipating? That's our own very own Grimmy.
That's it. You got that right. Well, look, coaches,
What am I thinking right now, Grimmy? What am I thinking right now?
You're thinking that you wish I'd ask a different question than what I'm about to ask.
You're good. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm saying when Guardsy's co-hosting the show, Coach, I have to bring the leather vest, and sometimes it hurts, and sometimes I got to defend.
That's true. That's true.
But, how about Tanner Morgan? We talked about him last week. He talked about his idea of, that he's going to respond from the struggles of the Iowa game. And I know, Coach, you mentioned that, hey, it wasn't just Tanner Morgan's struggles. There were drop passes. There were sacks that were out of his control. But, man, did he bring it, and did he respond in a great way on Friday?
Yeah, we also had 3 drops. He would have been 18 of 22. We've got to be able to catch the balls they throw us. And we've done a poor job of that the last few games. So we've got to be able to clean that up. But I thought he played gritty, tough. I thought he was very competitive. He got back to – I think he had a lot of fun on the field too. I think Mike Sanford and Matt Simon did a great job, especially Mike Sanford coaching the quarterbacks, did a great job of putting a game plan together that really, really highlights Tanner's strengths. And, the ball's out of his hand. He's doing a great job with the run game. We're mixing it up inside, outside zone. We've got some other plays in there that are a few wrinkles here and there, getting the ball down the field in man coverage. So, again, I think they did a really good job of horizontally, vertically spreading the field, making Purdue cover everything, and finding a way to score 34 points against Purdue defense, who's limited a lot of people on defense and is much improved.
And we talked about it, I think, halftime, we talked about it post-game, Coach, just such great balance with so many different Gophers catching the ball. I mean, was that an emphasis, or was that just how things happened to work out on Friday?
It's an emphasis, but also it's going to be how we're going to have to continue to keep moving forward, especially in the COVID time where, we had 2 positive tests that morning, that it was like, all right, well, now that number went from 20 to 22. And just like that, a guy who's practiced is not there anymore. And you never know when that's going to happen. So it's more about taking your 5-6 guys at wide receiver, putting them where they are going to be the most beneficial, game planning where you can move them around, but you're going to have other guys be able to make plays besides Rashad Bateman and Chris Hoffman-Bell. And I thought Daniel Jackson did that. Seth Green made a huge catch in the game. Yeah. So Daniel Jackson made an unbelievable play on the sideline as a true freshman. But these are guys that, Daniel Jackson, that's a future player Gopher fans are going to know for a lot of years around here. And he's starting to show what he can do. Same with the backs catching the ball in the backfield.
Yeah, involved the tight ends a couple of times. Paulson with his first catch. You mentioned Green's catch. I want to ask you about that as a receiver. When you're going over the middle, that safety's bearing down on you. I thought to hold on to that football for a guy that hasn't caught a lot of passes in his career was a pretty impressive catch.
Yeah, it was a critical down and distance too, and the way they played two-man and the coverage they had. I mean, that was a very difficult route to execute and throw and catch, especially with protection. But I thought they executed it to perfection. It was a really well thought out play. Not only that, perfect timing, and just made the play. I mean, that's a shot he took, and to be able to hang on to that football, that was a big play in the game.
And then come in and score a touchdown later to stay in after you take a shot like that, no doubt. All right, hey, we're due for our first break. We'll come back. We'll see what Guardsy's going to throw our way in segment number 2. We want to remind you, Onward for Business is presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors. Wanting to be on your team when you buy or sell a business, Onward for Business, the one-stop shop for buying or selling your business and for payroll, insurance, bookkeeping, and more. Onward, Sunbelt Business Advisors, proud to sponsor Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck. We'll be back with more. Stay with us. It is Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck from Learfield, IMG College. Welcome back. It's Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck, Mike Grimm, and Justin Guard with you here on the Gopher Radio Network. The Gophers knocked off Purdue on Friday, and now it's off to Wisconsin for a Saturday game at 1 o'clock. We'll take air at 11. We'll talk about that coming up a little later in the show. Right now, we want to remind you, Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck is sponsored by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Minnesota, the #1 health plan for Medicare in the state. And as long as we're talking about health and Medicare and plans and all of this, how is planning, Coach, going this week? I'm guessing you hold your breath every time the test results come back, and how are the numbers looking here early in the week at least?
Well, we're actually testing right now as we speak. I think that's always really important every single week. As you said, you just hold your breath. And, of that number, we had about half of those players out with COVID-19, but that's spread. That's not one-day testing, right? I want to make sure everybody understands that. That's over a course of close to about a 21-day period of how many people are out. Now, that's not including staff, but we're testing right now. And, my job as head football coach, always prepare like we're always going to play, no matter what. We've been doing that from day one, and every decision made is going to be in the best care and the best thought for our student athletes and the people that are around our football program on both teams, no matter what. But those decisions are not made by the football coach. Those decisions are made by medical professionals. Those decisions are made by administration in conjunction with the Big Ten Conference. That's why all those things are there. So you don't have to make those decisions. Just like last week, didn't have to make that decision. Just had to get the team ready for Purdue, just like we did Iowa. You don't have to make that decision. Just get the team ready to play Iowa the best you possibly can. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
Was there any concern late last week when the test started coming back that the game would be in any jeopardy? Was there ever any real discussion about that?
I think it was close, but again, I'm not in those discussions. I'm not involved in those. Those are, like I said, those are medical professionals. Those are following all the guidelines. Those are making sure the administration is talking with them, plus the Big Ten Conference. That's way above and beyond me. I'm going to coach the team. I'm going to get them prepared with whoever's out there, with however many people are ready to go and ready to play. But I know that the Big Ten Conference, our administration, our medical staff, do everything we possibly can, following CDC guidelines, the state laws, do everything we can to prevent or provide the most beneficial and healthy environment we possibly can for our student athletes all the time. But when you look at, like I said, it wasn't just one day of all of them coming in. That would be a completely different story. But when you're talking about over time, when you look at it now, when you have 1 or 2 in the morning, you worry because that person practiced all week, and you sit there and say, okay, well, they got a lot of reps. Who's next? If you're going to play the game. And but again, everybody has the best interest for student athletes on both sides of every single game, and just proud to be part of that with our president, Joan Gable, and Mark Coyle, our athletic director, and all our medical health professionals here at the University of Minnesota. I mean, it makes my job a lot easier because I don't have to worry about it. I just got to coach the team.
And it's an important clarification because your buddy Pete Thamel, I think when he throws out, hey, 20 guys are out, people don't really read it necessarily. It's maybe a couple were from last week, a couple were from 2 weeks ago. Maybe there's a couple this week. And by the way, there's injuries and we have no idea what the mix is. So it's a good clarification that this is an ongoing thing that you guys are dealing with, on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, and I think that's, when people listen to anybody being out in college football today, I think, or the NFL or anywhere, the narrative is it must be COVID-19. That's not necessarily the case.
Right.
Now, I said around half of the 22 players that were out did test positive for COVID-19 over that time frame of when it's a 21-day window where you have to be out. So that backs all the way up from Illinois, Iowa, up to this game. So it's spread out over a period of time. But that's what the daily antigen testing does, and it's supposed to be able to get it before it can become contagious, and rapid testing and everything else involved in that. So it's a benefit of that. So we're testing right now, and we'll just continue to do what we've done since day one, and that's evaluate every day and take every day for what it is right now. But we've played a lot of players, and that's the one thing. Fortunately for us, anybody who has tested positive, there's been no real serious cases where people have hospital care. It's all been very mild symptoms or no symptoms, which I know a lot of people are dealing with the effects of COVID-19, not only maybe getting it themselves or family members who are dealing with it, people who are dealing with it in their jobs and their career. But we just want to let them know that, our heartfelt thoughts and prayers are with them as we all deal with this pandemic across the country, across the world.
And along those lines, can I ask how Coach Callahan is doing? Brian Callahan, who missed the game, and what's the latest on him in terms of when he can potentially return? What is the process? It's different than a player, right? In terms of when a coach can come back.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Callahan's feeling really good. Thanks for asking. I know he'd appreciate you asking about him. He's on all of our Zooms. He's meeting with our players on Zoom, all our staff meetings. He's involved in all that. He's quarantined himself in his home. Done a really good job following, again, CDC and state guidelines. And hopefully we get him back as soon as we can. But there's a process to that. We're not the ones competing on the field as coaches, right? In terms of the physical contact, play in, play out. Players have that 21-day period in the Big Ten. Coaches have around 10, but then it gets reevaluated. It's not just 10 and you can come back. It's based on when you had your last symptom. Are you symptomatic? Are you not symptomatic? There's a lot of things, again, that I continue to learn every day based on the people that teach us the things. Because, again, I'm not in charge of all that. But what you do is you take it, you respond to it, you find the best formula moving forward that keeps your players and your staff the safest we can keep them, the best way possible, and get ready for people to play games and prepare them to go out there and find a way to win football games.
One follow-up on that, one of the most unique, coolest cats ever is Maurice Wilson, and he filled in for Coach Callahan, and he's been an offensive lineman. In fact, he blocked for Darrell Thompson here at the University of Minnesota. How do you think he stepped in, and will he now be on the field in practice this week? Is that kind of how that will work?
Well, depending on when Coach Callahan is allowed to come back, Coach Callahan is our offensive line coach. Coach Wilson is our assistant offensive line coach, but doing a really good job. And last week he was out there, he came back the day before the game, or 2 days before, whenever it was, and stepped into the offensive line role and has done a really good job with our offensive line. And players really love him. He's a special person. He's an alum. He knows this place inside and out, cares deeply for the Gophers. And that rubs off on all of our players too, and they see that. Everybody in our program is a huge fan of Maurice Wilson. He's doing a great job. He's been a head coach. He's been a coordinator, been an O-line coach, played O-line, done a lot of things. So it's a seamless transition with him being able to be at practice and take over that O-line, because Coach Callahan's still able to do some meetings and sit in on some meetings. But I think the big thing to also understand is, we all want to play. We're competitors. We're competitive coaches. Our players are competitive people. But there's a lot of things that are outside of our control and, that we have to be able to follow, and a lot of people making those decisions for us.
How's Mo doing?
He's doing well. He's a physical runner. It's hard to be able to run like Muhammad runs and not get banged up a little bit here and there through the year. Any year. It's really difficult because he runs the way a running back should run. We've got some young guys with Trey Potts being out. You could maybe take some of those carries off and some of those hits off at times, which we finally got Bryce Williams back and then Cam Wiley. So, he's got 25 carries, which is, not as many as when he had 40 a few weeks ago. So we're able to get some more people in there, but he's feeling really good. So I appreciate you asking. We're going to continue to take it day by day with him, but he feels a lot better.
It seemed, just reading between the lines when we were talking after the game, that it was almost precautionary of like, hey, you got banged up here. If we want him for the future here, we got to be really careful about what we're asking him to do. Is that a fair representation of how it went on Friday?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Again, there's so many things that, football coaches, people think we make every single call that comes in and who plays and who doesn't and why and what injury and, what the COVID protocols are. We don't make those. There's people that do that. Mike Sipniak, our athletic trainer, makes those calls. And I trust him 100%. I think he's one of the best athletic trainers, one of the best staffs in America. I really believe that. It's fun to work with him because when he says we're going to pull back on this guy, we pull back. When he says he can't go, the kid must not be able to go. When he said he can go, the kid says he can go. And that takes the pressure off of you as a head coach when you have somebody being able to make the decisions for the kids who are all competitors and coaches who are all competitors. But there's somebody with that neutral mindset that says, hey, listen, if we want him later, it's probably not a great idea to be able to play him here. And sometimes that's being the parent, that's being the medical professional, it's being the adult, taking that away from the student athlete at times. That's best for them, which they might not be able to see at the time. They might not disagree with, or they might not agree with it at the time. But that's not for them to agree or disagree. It's for their health, and that will never be questioned here at the University of Minnesota ever.
How about Jordan Howden? I know he was not able to finish the game either. What's the latest with your safety?
He feels really good. It was an eye issue that we wanted to be 100% sure that there wasn't something wrong with his eye. It's hard. I mean, the eye doesn't seem like the most common football injury, but it's how you see things. And you lose one of those and you can't see out of it. And whether it's you got poked in the eye or something happened in a tackle, and then you've got to make sure as medical professionals, you're going to make sure that his eyesight's okay. Forget football. Let's talk about his eyesight, talk about his future. Let's do all the tests we need to be able to do right then and there, not put him at any other risk. And they do all the check the boxes to make sure that he can return to play. And if they feel like he can't return to play, can't return to play. And you got to be able to adjust then. But he's doing a lot better.
And how do you think Calvin Swenson played? He has not played a lot defensively. He's been a real star in special teams, but I thought he showed pretty well for not having a chance. And he's going against at times Rondale Moore, for Pete's sake, right?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he played really well. I thought he tackled well. I thought he got his opportunity and performed at a high level. And that's what this year is all about. I mean, I think our participation on defense was crazy. I mean, we're talking high 20s of participation just on defense alone. I think even maybe a little more. That's a crazy number when you're talking about how many guys are playing non-special teams. So we're rotating a lot of people in there. Whether it's injury, whether it's people have to step in because of the COVID rules. It's been fun to get a lot of people in there. And everybody says, does this year matter? Absolutely. I've said it 100 times. I keep getting asked that question. I'm not sure why. It always matters. When you get a chance to play and you only get 12 guaranteed opportunities, everything matters. And it doesn't matter what year it is. Are there different challenges this year than any other year that anybody's ever seen in football? You bet. But you can still find a way to create a positive despite the result. You can find a way to create a positive for now and into the future, and that's what we're going to decide to do.
All right, very good. Let's take another break here. We'll look ahead this weekend. It's a Saturday afternoon game, like the old days, 1 o'clock kickoff. We'll take air at 11, Minnesota and Wisconsin. Stay with us. It's Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck from Learfield, IMG College. Welcome back. Segment 3 of Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck. Mike Grimm and Justin Gard with you. The head coach PJ Fleck with us as well. If you missed any portion of today's show, you can always catch it on demand via our Gopher podcast. Download and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Of course, Gardsy has his own little podcast on the Gopher webpage that you can listen to as well. Click on that same page. Gardsy, who do we have this week?
This week, we're not sure yet. We're working through some Thanksgiving challenges. Paul Rovnak is the assistant producer of that Golden Gopher podcast. So whenever he texts me back and lets me know who we're going to do, we'll get it done. But we had a couple of good ones last week. Brad Frost, women's hockey coach, joined me to preview their season. And Scott Eckers, former Gopher quarterback, jumped on. He was involved in 1993 in the 59-56 Gopher victory over Purdue, as well as the big upset over a Rose Bowl bound Wisconsin team at the Dome, a game I remember vividly as an 11-year-old in section 115 at the Metrodome. Bunch of interceptions. Gophers were big underdogs, and they knocked off Darrell Bevel and that whole crew of Wisconsin. So we went down memory lane with Scott Eckers. That was a lot of fun last week. So that's what we got. Stay tuned for this week. I'll let you know as soon as I know what we got going for Thanksgiving. But last week was fun.
Yeah, it's been a long time Thanksgiving tradition for me to eat turkey, mashed potatoes, corn, and then listen to the Gardsy podcast.
The Golden Gopher podcast. It's like John Madden, Justin Gard. It's basically 1A and 1B. There's no question about that.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Well, this weekend, one of the great trophies in all of sports, Paul Bunyan's axe is on the line, and of course the Gophers. The last time they were in Madison, got a big win in Madison in 2018, winning that Paul Bunyan's Axe for the first time in 14 years. And what was it, 1994, I think, since the last time it was won by the Gophers in Madison. So maybe a chance to go back-to-back and get it back. And, Coach, what's your impression of the Wisconsin Badgers, who suffered their first setback of the season this past Saturday against a very good Northwestern team?
Yeah, a really good football team. Typical Wisconsin, right? Play incredible defense, run the ball exceptionally well, multiple ways. They're really big, strong up front. Graham Mertz is a really good football player, good quarterback. They're going to get the receivers back this week. That I think a few were out last week. Tight ends are a huge part of what they do, and their backs. I mean, they're a really good football team, and you can just see. I mean, last week, they turned the ball over 5 times. I don't care who you are. You turn the ball over 5 times, it's going to be hard for you to win any game. And that's a credit to Northwestern's defense and how good they are. And again, it's we've got to find a way to be able to do that as well. We got to find a way to be able to get takeaways. We got one takeaway this game, and it turned out to be the one that really helped seal the victory. So they're a really good football team, though. We got a great challenge ahead of us, and we look forward to it.
Have they changed much? Obviously, they're Wisconsin, so they're going to be what they are. But having a quarterback like Mertz, who they highly touted, likes to throw it. Obviously, that first game against Illinois, he was on fire pretty much all night. Is it a different challenge with a quarterback like that who seemingly can make almost every throw that you'd want to make? What's the difference, if there is any?
Oh, I don't know. I think it depends on who you play. I mean, there's times you really want to throw the ball more, run the ball more, and that's what game plans throughout the week are for. How does that defensive scheme fit your offense? How are you going to put that together? What are you going to expose? PA pointed out to me that, I was laughing with him because I said, I don't know if I necessarily really agree with that. But he said, hey, you held him to 5 yards of carry last week. And I said, hold on a second. I said, think about what you just said. I said, we celebrated 5 yards of carry. I said, that is unacceptable. And I know it sounds like a low amount this year for us, but it was, but that's not the standard. And I want to make sure everybody understands that. So they might be looking at that saying, hey, they're averaging so many yards of carry. And might want to exploit that. We got to play really sound defense. We got to tackle better. We're playing better. I said from day one, we got to grow. We got to learn. We got to play better. It's just a little inconsistent right now. There's times we look like a really good defense, and there's times that we're just inconsistent. But that's to be expected with who's playing out there at times and how many people we're missing and how many changes we're making all of a sudden. But again, that's part of 2020. I've got to get them ready to play, just like last week. A lot of people out. For all different types of reasons, get them ready to play, give them a chance to be able to compete in there and have a chance to win. And this week will be no different that way. Whoever's on the field expect to be at a high standard. And it's a great rivalry game. It's one of the best rivalry games in all of college football. And we're excited for it.
Coach, what do you remember about that trip to Madison 2 years ago and such a nice win to get the axe, to kind of break that streak? I know that was kind of the season of, breaking some first to lead into what turned out to be, such a good year last year. But that trip to Madison, where's that rank maybe in your coaching victories, in terms of how enjoyable and satisfying they have been?
Yeah, it's definitely in the top 5. And I think for any of the players who played in that game, it's probably in the top 5 of their high school career, their college career, their Pop Warner, whatever it is, Pop Warner, some NFL already. But when you look back at that, I think we were huge underdogs. And, I think everybody wrote us off. I think I was Turkey of the Year right before that game. I think that was something like that. I had a picture pulling the turkey out the next day or whatever it was. And I took a picture and Heather told me not to put it out there. That's the difference between me and Patino. He would have put that out in a heartbeat. I just got kept it to myself. And there's a picture in our home of it, but it always reminds us of the Turkey of the Year. But I think that was the whole storyline. It was the end. Everybody wrote us off. We were going to be 5-7, miss a bowl game. But those players came out and played their hearts out. Forced 4 turnovers, had a 10-minute drive, had a punt return for a touchdown, a lot of things that maybe we hadn't done all year that we started to form this identity. And I said before, there's always that moment that kind of that flips and says, all right, here's who we are. This is what we're going to do. And we get it now and let's go. And I think that was one of the moments for our program. And obviously we need a lot more of those as we keep moving forward. But I think that was kind of the storyline going into that game. And it was a tremendous victory, up 37-7 with a few minutes to go, and Camp Randall being pretty quiet. And having to be able to have that axe on that field for a while was a special moment. And just like they want to keep it, we want to be able to get it. and get it back. And I think that's what makes a rivalry really fun.
Well, and you mentioned being on the field with the Axe for a long time. The Gopher Radio Network crew, we learned a lesson that day, Coach, that when you win the Axe or you win a trophy, you're not just running back to the locker room. I was probably in the locker room for like 25 minutes, wouldn't you say, Grimmer, going, where is everybody? And there's a couple of kickers in there, a couple of boosters in there. Maybe, I don't know if John Cunningham was in there. We're all just kind of hanging out. Where is everybody? Well, they're out there with the Axe. So we could have had a really good post-game show that year. Unfortunately, the guy in charge of the interviews was in the locker room just waiting to do everything. So I learned my lesson for the Outback Bowl. I was right where I was supposed to be, on the field with everybody. So I failed in 2018. We grew from it, Coach, and Outback Bowl was a great post-game show, I thought.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. You know, you guys always do amazing interviews after a game. I truly appreciate that. I really do. And you ask what has to be asked, and I've always appreciated that. And you're very knowledgeable about what goes on. And but when you look at the rivalry, it's really special. I mean, there's no other word for it but special. And I think 2 years ago, it brought back that rivalry a little bit. When you haven't had something for close to 15 years, it's hard to remember what it was like when you had it. And then we got it back and then lost it. And now I think both teams really want it really bad. So that's what makes rivalries fun and competitive.
You mentioned that 10-minute drive I believe that ate up most of the third quarter there. It ended. I don't want to, mess with Emmett Carpenter, one of our good pals, but it ended with a missed field goal. And when you think about that drive, and then Guardsy mentioned the Outback Bowl, that 8-minute and 56-second drive that basically melted the game away at the end, ended with no points. It is a kind of a unique spot that two of the great drives that I can remember really in program history in the last decade resulted in no points when you think about that. You know, it's kind of an interesting little nugget that it means that's, you're doing the right things when you're eating up the clock that way.
Well, one we tried to score and we didn't, and the other one we didn't try to score. I mean, we took a victory knee, and that's the greatest play in football. It's the greatest play in football, guys, when you take that knee. Everybody's asked, what's the best play? I always say the victory formation, because it really is. And it's really crappy on the other side of it. That's the worst play in football when you have to watch it. And I've been on both sides of it. And, but again, every year is its own entity. You look at last week, you look at what everybody thought the score was going to be, and you look at a 17-7 game. Both defenses really good, but who would have thought Wisconsin would turn the ball over 5 times of what they've done? It's just, that's why you play the game. And we got to go out there and play really good defense, and they're going to want to come back and respond, and we know that, and we just want to keep getting better.
What do you think it'll be like in that? I mean, you've obviously played a couple of road games, but, in terms of a rivalry game now, talking about this thing that at times, I'm sure the fans will scream things to you that you wouldn't want to repeat on this radio show. What do you think it'll be like coaching in that game with an empty, and I mean, it's empty, right? They're not even allowing parents, I don't think, into the stadium in Wisconsin. So what do you think that'll be like?
It's 2020. It's a unique experience. Everybody's got to be able to deal with it. On the other side, it's that home field advantage that people miss. And then when you're the opponent, it's the people yelling from the stands that you miss. But you know what? I've heard it all. And so, I mean, it goes through your head when you make a play, and you probably hear them in the back of your head anyway. Those are things that you just kind of expect when you always go on the road. The Big Ten has some of the most passionate fans in America. That's what makes playing in the Big Ten so fun. People, fans, fanatics. I mean, that's even with the logo that's up there, right on cue, right? I mean, it's they're fanatics about their team, and that doesn't mean that, especially in a rivalry game, they like the other team very much. So, but it comes down to what happens in between the white lines, and that's what you want to prepare for and block out everything else, no matter if there's people there or no people there.
All right, let's take our final break. We'll have our remaining moments with the head coach when we come back. Stay with us. It's Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck from Learfield, IMG College. Welcome back. It's our final segment, Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck, Mike Grimm, and Justin Gard with you. It's the Gophers and the Badgers this Saturday, a 1 o'clock kickoff. We'll take air at 11 here across the great state of Minnesota on the Gopher Radio Network. And during the commercial break, Guardsy was asking the head coach, PJ Fleck, whether he was going to bring a box of Axe body spray cans with him to Madison. I think that's a worthy story. I had forgotten about that story Guardsy would tell. Coach, of course, you won the Axe, and then you had Axe body spray.
I'm not sure what the sponsorships are for deodorant with the University of Minnesota. I'm not sure what that is, but if I break it, I apologize. I'll pay the fine. But So before we got on the bus, just something to stick in their minds. And we're 5-6. I think we're 20-some point underdogs. It's not looking good. Got to get them fired up somehow. So just give them all a little small individualized can of Axe body spray. And I said, don't get on the bus unless you want to go win the Axe. And then when we win the Axe, we're going to smell victory. For the first time in 15 years, we're going to smell victory. And it was great because we celebrate on the field, as JG said. We're having a great time. And we're out there a half hour, 40 minutes. We make our way into the locker room. The great thing about it is it's well thought out. It's one of those plays that just work on the chalkboard, man. It is. It's flawless. It's an automatic touchdown. Well, you walk into the locker room, and here I come, I run, I jump like I normally do, and immediately every single kid's like this. You can't see their face, which seems crazy now. Back then, doesn't seem crazy now with masks covering your face. Mm-hmm. But everybody was spraying their Axe spray. Well, there's a very small, tight locker room, and it was very hot in there. Next thing you know, everyone's coughing. Everyone's covering their face. The party turned into this like run for cover, find air, because they all smelled Axe body spray. And it took a while to kind of get it all out, but they'll never forget that smell. And it'll stick with us for the rest of our life somehow, some way.
And then they got on the bus right away. Then you just get on the bus. You're just sitting there. It's probably 4 hours. I mean, those buses probably needed some fumigation at the end of it as well, just from the
they smelled. But here's the thing. I mean, they smelled great.
Fresh.
They did smell fresh. They did smell like victory, like a fresh new start where we get a bowl game. We got a whole new season. It's a great opportunity for us.
And I think, Coach, you're okay as long as you tell people to buy their Axe body spray at Cub Food. I think we're good on the sponsorship part of it there. So
yeah, there's only one place to buy it at, and that's Cub Food. So that's perfect. You bet.
There you go.
Nice job. Very nice.
That's why he's the voice of the Gophers right there. He knows. He's got the cards.
See, he already knew that. Like he already knew where I was going, JG.
Oh man, the smell of victory. I like that. Well, let's hope that it's another weekend of fun and that the Axe can come back to Minneapolis. Coach, I wanted to ask you mentioned you play a bunch of guys, 20 or so on defense, maybe even more than that. Two from Minnesota that I wanted to ask you about specifically. Phil Howard is getting more and more of an opportunity, obviously. He put two big licks on that big running back from Purdue. I thought he had another good game. And then Josh Ani, who had the interception at the end, might have played the most plays, maybe the most reps in a game that he's had up to this point in his career. And to see him get the pick obviously was nice. What do you think of the way those two guys are progressing now?
They're getting better. I think that's the big thing about playing as many guys as you can, and you looked at some guys who have played some football for you with Mariano and Josh Ani being able to get a lot of reps in that game. Philip Howard with Ben saying juice down. So Philip Howard comes in with tea time and get and able to make some plays and get some really great experience as not only for now and in the future, but for next year as well as we keep moving this thing forward. That's priceless playing time that you can never get back, nor you can ever simulate. And so it's priceless for that. Then you look at guys like DJ Gordon and Cody Lindenberg and Donald Willis. They're all freshman linebackers. And so we felt in this game we needed some guys who have played before, and just in case. And I thought Ani played well. I thought there were some things he's got to get better at, but caught the ball they threw him, and that was a huge play at the end of the game, sealed the game for us. And I thought Philip Howard showed some physicality, which again was a wide receiver about a year and a half ago. Now comes over to defense, and I'm just really proud of the progress he's making. And the ceiling for those two young men is so high, and they've just got to keep getting better and growing.
How about on the offensive side with Cam Wiley, his first touchdown as the Gopher there? It's a really nice run there to get you guys on the board. How's his development been?
Yeah, I'm not sure how many times you guys said in the broadcast, that's a freshman Cam Wiley or freshman, D'Angelo Carter, or freshman Logan Richter, or freshman, Jalen Logan Redding, and you can go on and on. But Cam Wiley's one of those guys. And, with Mo doing what Mo's done, Mo's our leading rusher. Mo's our number one back. Mo is a very special person, special back, one of the best in the country, one of the best ever to play here at Minnesota, which says a lot with all the great backs we've had in our history. He's in really elite company. But then you look at Cam Wiley, you start to look at who he is and how he runs and the size he is. He's a really big back. He's 6'2", 215 pounds, and he's only a freshman. And it's great for him to be able to learn and The way you learn at running back is go in there and do it and get hit and know that your pads are too high. I can tell your pads are too high till my face is blue. Until you get hit by a Big Ten linebacker or safety or a D lineman, you'll know your pads need to come down. These are valuable reps. And he comes back next year as another freshman because the year doesn't count for eligibility. So this is all beneficial for the future of Gopher football. It's beneficial now, too, because these are really talented players that are getting a lot of experience. Hopefully, we're able to get Trey Potts back here, too, as well. Saw Bryce Williams get in the game. Again, a lot of people playing in a lot of positions, which is really positive.
Well, last one for you to close the show out. The Gopher men's basketball season starts this week, and I know that you have a lot on your mind with football and Paul Bunyan's Axe in Wisconsin, but I know also you and Heather have enjoyed coming to basketball games when you can, and I know you and Richard Pitino are very tight and very close. And how weird is it going to be this year? Are you going to be able to get on a pass list, or is Richard going to sneak you into the game once the football season's over? How's that going to work?
Well, he used to slide me the stat sheets in between, timeouts and periods and stuff. And then I don't get those as much anymore. I think we kind of lost a few games. I think Richard blamed me and as a typical friend would always do. Must be PJ. Just blame it on PJ. I can take it. I got big shoulders. That's fine. That's not the first time or the last time. I can take it. But we have a great friendship. It's been fun to be able to bounce things off of each other, be close friends, but also be working professionals, coaching two really important sports here at the University of Minnesota. It's going to be fun to watch his basketball team, and it's a great year to be able to go out and play a lot of guys and see what they can do and make a run at the Big Ten championship. So we'll be watching, probably not there. I don't know if we're going to be allowed to go or not. There's so many restrictions on all of this, everyone, even when we're talking about even our families as we keep moving forward. So, but we've always got a seat right in front of the TV for Gopher basketball, men's and women's, and really look forward to that season coming up.
All right, very good. Well, let's go.
And Bob Motzko and Coach Frost. It's hockey country too now. It's fun. The victory over Penn State was huge the other night for our men.
No doubt, absolutely. And you can hear most of those games right here on the Gopher Radio Network. And Wednesday night, of course, Gopher men's basketball against Green Bay. We'll have Saturday football, 1 o'clock, and let's go get Paul Bunyan's Axe. Thanks, Coach.
You got to look forward to it, guys. We'll see you there. Row the boat, Sky Ma. Go Gophers.
All right, very good. He's Justin Gard. He's PJ Fleck. I'm Mike Grimm. And this has been Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck from Learfield, IMG College.